Hello and welcome. It is the 30th day of March 2021. It is 12:30 and I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM, and I put the Mega Power in Mega Power March. And we have reached the end of Mega Power March, our tribute to all things superhero, or as many superhero things as we could get. But don't worry, if you were a fan of all the theory crafting superheroes we made, I have put them all on a blog. So you can go to that blog and check it out, and I'll have the link down below to the blog. But of course, we could not end Mega Power Superhero Role-Playing Game March without at least taking a brief look at, of course, the 500-pound gorilla of superhero role-playing, sadly, the single most influential superhero role-playing system, the one that has been copied the most. And of course, I'm talking about the hero system, Champions, the superhero role-playing game. Perhaps maybe not the greatest, but at least the most influential, because Champions introduced us to point-buy superheroes. And that's not to say other systems didn't exist before Champions that tried the same experiments, but somehow Champions did it right. So right that from that point on, pretty much there was really only three schools of superhero role-playing game design thought. The main school of superhero role-playing game design thought was copy Champions, point-based superheroes, and we see it time and time again, even up to today with the current Mutant and Masterminds 3rd edition, Champions the Hero System 6th edition, Capes and Crooks, or whatever they're calling the 5th edition D&D superhero role-playing game. That's basically just Mutants and Masterminds, the modern superhero role-playing system. Pretty much 90% of the superhero role-playing games in the world copy the point-buy, advantage-disadvantage system. GURPS did it. Savage Worlds did a version of it. Pretty much the bulk has taken that 100-point character, plus advantages, plus disadvantages, plus quirks, more points, less points, try and still fit within that 100, 200, 300 point, but you can get, min-maxing. I mean, it is the god of min-maxing. You can't get more min-maxing and optimizing than Champions. It is just the way the system is. And we all know people have found ways to break it time and time again. So it is the most influential. I would say the second most influential being random power systems like Marvel and Vigilantes, and the third most influential being the archetype superhero systems like Brave New World or Mutants and Masterminds, sort of. But really, Champions is the cornerstone of the superhero role-playing game market, whether you love it or not. I love Champions. I love the sort books. I love the character creations. I love Foxbat. I got to play Foxbat in a game for a couple months, and it was just so much fun. The system, I know everybody else pretty much loves the Champion systems. Whenever you look at people talking about what their favorite superhero role-playing game, inevitably it's always, well, I tried this, and I tried this, but Champions is the number one for me. Now, we know my number one is Marvel, my number two is Villains and Vigilantes, but my brain works different than most people, but most people like the min-maxing, they like the crunching, they like the point-based, they like the ability to build the character the way they picture it in their mind, even if they have to do all this bizarre, PhD level hypercube math to build the character. And if you look at some, characters, especially like conversion characters, or even just people who have tried to make their idea into Champions, and you just look at the math and like the power scale and the, 14 or less, obvious accessible focus. I mean, just so much thought and creativity, and just it's like the scene where you see the numbers and the formulas floating over the guy's head in the movie or the cartoon, and then he ends like, yes, I see it now. Like Sherlock and Sherlock or Elementary, where he just sees all the things in his head, and he's like, oh yes, I mean, that's the thing you just see when you look at Champions characters. But Champions is on its 6th edition. It's like 500 pages. And it covers not just superheroes, but basically it's, Champions and the hero system has been done into other systems. There's like space and fantasy and stuff like that. But really the core is Champions, and it's currently on the 6th edition. It is probably considered the number one superhero role-playing game in the world. And I always had a problem with Champions, but I know that everybody else I played with rare exception, if given the choice between Champions and Village and Vigilantes, especially when I was in college, Champions. It was always Champions. If somebody was running Champions, and I tried playing Champions, but my characters were always like, I feel bad, and I don't think I made it right, and because I just couldn't do the math. And even when other people tried to help me, I couldn't do the math. That's my dyslexia, my brain. There is nothing wrong with the Champion system. I love the Champion system. I love the passionate fan base of the Champion system. The source books. Oh my God, the source books alone. I mean, Aaron Alston's, squadron thing. Foxbat, Marksman, the comic books, Thorn, Jade, just such an amazingly well thought out world. Dark Champions, Champions of Europe, supervillain teams, the superhero teams, just the vast history that they have created for the Champions universe is amazing. It's a great source book for superhero role-playing games, even if you don't use the system. It's kind of like Heroes Unlimited. I mean, it's great source work. If I had a choice, it would not be my first choice to run or play. But if somebody else ran it, and if they could help me work through the math, especially if I got to play Foxbat again, because, that was just a blast. It's me, Marksman, opening the door. It's just some idiot standing outside the door with a Marksman mask. Yeah, let him in. Let's see who it is. I mean, that was just hilarious. So, yes, we could not talk about superhero role-playing games without, of course, addressing the single greatest superhero role-playing game in the world. Whether you don't have to believe me. I don't, it's not my favorite. I don't think it's the best, but I know 90% of the world thinks it's the best. It is the number one selling. It is the hugest. It is just this, it is the D&D of superhero role-playing games. When you think superheroes, most people instantly think Champions. And you can see its influence throughout the history of the hobby up to today. So many people tried to copy the Champions formula. When the D20 OGL superhero role-playing games started coming out, Mutants and Masterminds being pretty much the only one that survived, pretty much every one of them tried to copy Champions, but did a D20 D&D version of Champions. And of course, Champions New Millennium, which I worked on, we tried to cross Champions with, the interlock system and Fusion. And oh God, what a disaster Champions New Millennium was. That was like, let's take the two worst aspects of two systems and combine them together to make the worst superhero system possible. You cannot deny the influence of Champions. So my personal math issues aside, I do have to tip a hat. If you can deal with the crunch, if you can deal with the PhD level of math, it's worth it. It really does let you build whatever character you want. And despite all the other attempts of other systems to try and do the same thing, GURPS Supers, all the way up to Mutants and Masterminds, all the way up to whatever the next system is going to be that tries to copy Champions. Champions does it best. You just have to work through the glut math, and you have to, like, if you're, optimizing and stuff like that to make the character work, but it works, and it does what it does better than any other system that does the exact same thing. So, yeah, I got to tip my hat. It is the best. For its box, it is the best of its box. Now, if I had a choice, I'd go Villains and Vigilantes over Champions, but that's just because I like the random powers, and I think Villains and Vigilantes for me is easier because it's just, it's D20 plus stuff. I have never been able to do the Champions math as well as others. My Champions characters always kind of just for jokes, or I would just copy another character and change the name because I couldn't figure out how to do the math. But yeah, Champions, I salute you. We have to end Mega Power March with Champions because at the end of the day, it is the reigning champ of superhero role-playing games. So thank you for so many years of so much creativity, such an amazing world, so much work. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of Mega Power March. If you want to see me do this again next year, let me know. If you never want to see me do it again, also let me know. If you are a fan of all the theory crafting, check out the OGGM vlog, where I have posted all the theory crafting links that we did for all the supers we made up using the random generators we found online. We will continue this next year if you want, and if you never want to see me do this again, let me know. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Help me hit that 400, 500 sub goal by August 4th, and I will talk to you super dudes later, champion.